online session regarding towards level 3 information. My name's Andrew Webb. I'm the Coach Development Officer for the RFU covering the south of England, and today is Friday the 4th of December. This short video should last around 20 minutes and really is designed for information for those looking to find out more about our level 3 coaching program and how to apply for that award. It probably makes sense to have a quick look at the outcomes for this online session, the first of which is really to try and help the viewers understand what level 3 is, and more importantly who the course is aimed at. Also, we're going to go on to detail the application procedure, because in order to access our UKCC level 3, you must apply, be screened, and then be accepted before you can start. So we'll talk a little bit about what that screening process is looking for and what is required for that application procedure. We'll also identify some local advanced CPD modules which make up part of the prerequisite for application. When I say local, we're going to specifically look at some Area 1 programmed courses, which is the Southwest Corridor. That's not to say that there aren't equivalent courses, which there are programmed all over the country, that you can search for, which may be more local to you, and I'll detail at the end of the presentation how you would search for those local courses a little bit later on. And lastly, hopefully it will help you establish where you are at the moment on your coaching journey, and how you're currently applying any previous learning that you have, and obviously ultimately whether level 3 is appropriate for you at this point in your coaching journey or not, and obviously that in case it encompasses the environment that you're working in as well, which again we'll talk about in a moment. It probably makes sense to start and talking about what level 3 is, what our level 3 program looks like. It is very much a course aimed at head coaches of a team program with competitive match opportunities within that program, and the head coach part is very important as far as the qualification is concerned. It's not necessarily a natural progression for those that have done our level 2 coaching qualification, which is aimed at those who coach the 15-a-side game. As I said, you have to be a head coach within a program, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that program needs to look like a little bit later on. The course is a real test of your ability, both as a coach and probably as importantly as a manager of playing programs, and the personnel within those playing programs. So those personnel could include, for instance, your players, your assistant coaches or other coaches that you work with, your strength and conditioners, your medical or first aid or physiotherapy team, and all other significant people you interact with within your program, which the list is really endless, dependent upon the program that you are operating in. But the key emphasis really is on the management of that process and those people that you're working with. And it's also very much an endorsement that you are working at level 3, rather than us getting you to level 3. And what I mean by that is our other courses, so our level 1 and our level 2 coaching courses are blocked learning programs, which are designed to try and help the coaches that enroll to reach level 1 or level 2 standard, either in the duration of the course or with a subsequent action plan. Level 3 is not that. Level 3 is an endorsement qualification. So upon application, you need to display to us that you are operating at level 3 and in a level 3 environment. And then we look to endorse that once accepted onto the program throughout modules 1, 2, and 3 over the duration, which is at least a 12-month journey for the coaches that enroll upon that. It's not a learning or teaching course, as the level 1 and 2 courses are that I mentioned earlier on. Well, that's not the primary function of the course. As I said, it's an endorsement program. Having said that, there are some learning opportunities on the course itself, and some of the modules that are covered over that 12-month period specifically look at things like the use of adaptive games to refine skill acquisition. We look at annual planning, of a program, and planning and periodization of a rugby season and the sessions that come from that season. We have a look at player and team profiling. We'll talk a little bit more about player profiling later, because that's part of the application process and an ongoing part of the course as you go forward. And that leads on to subjects such as game planning, strength and conditioning. We look at performance analysis, as well as some technologies associated with helping with that, and or momentum analysis. And we look at the planning and delivery of link sessions as part of the middle part of the course in the coach's environment in their own club. And they get some feedback on the basis of their delivery at all stages of the qualification as well. But the vast majority of the course is based upon what you are doing in your environment, whether that be a club, a school, a university, or equivalent program. There are some minimum non-negotiable expectations as far as what we're looking for from a level 3 candidate. So level 3 really looks to develop those future leaders within our game who are equipped with the skills to inspire, and we mean by that inspire the players they work with, but also the people that they manage and work around them. So that's quite important. Applicants, they need to prove to us before acceptance and during the course that they're operating within a program of sufficient standard, and that's really important, because it's that environment that will allow the candidate or not to display some of the appropriate competencies and tasks that we ask to be executed throughout the level 3. A lot of that happens in module 2, which is the middle section of the module, which is in the coach's own working environment, where they will work with a mentor. And it's important that the players' wants and needs in the model that the coach is working in are matched to the ambitions of that coach with the award in mind. So based on that, we really don't look at coaches who are working with players below under 16 level. We really do look at the courses aimed at those head coaches working within level 6 of our adult game, or equivalent within schools or universities, so tier 1, tier 2 programs that allow the coach to display some of the skills they need to display in order to meet competencies on what is a UKCC framework qualification. And it's important to us as well, and as for the qualification, that coach is able to show us a full range of experiences and a wide range of disciplines relating to the game. And that's why the head coach bit is really important. So we're, we have applicants in the past who are a forwards coach or a backs coach or a defence coach within a good model of a decent standard with the appropriate level of player, but they're not the head coach, and so therefore they cannot display some of the competencies that the course asks them to display by way of management. So as I said, the course is aimed at that head coach who will need a knowledge of all facets of the game, whether that be forwards coaching, backs coaching, attack, defence, and so on and so on. So that the coach, the applicant needs to be that head coach. Just talking a bit more about the course itself. Mentioned already that our level 1 and our level 2 courses are what we call blocked learning. So they're 3-day programs currently. Those days run in sequence. And that learning is blocked, so it's on the course, on the job learning, and some of the assessments are done by way of simulation and role play simulation. Our level 3 course is not a blocked learning approach; it is what we call a blended learning approach, which basically means that there's a range of delivery mechanisms that we use for the program, but more importantly, there's a range of assessment methods and assessment mechanisms that we would use across that that module 1 to 3 process that's involved. I've mentioned already, there's an application and a screening process. That's really important because the applicant would need to navigate that screening process first, and that screening process is very rigid, and we deploy a number of level 3 tutors and RFU trainers to assess the appropriateness of applications for the program, and those people obviously have good knowledge of the program and what is required to complete that program. And it's not uncommon for a coach to maybe to apply more than once before they get acceptance. And if you were to apply and not be accepted onto the next course, you'd be given feedback as to why that is, and an action plan to work on to try and help you with any future application. There are prerequisites which make up part of the application, and they're in the form of advanced CPD attendance. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment. But if those attendances do not appear on your RFU record upon application, then obviously your application will not go no further in terms of the screening process. So you must display some of the requirements, and also that you hold a level 2 qualification as well. There is some pre-course preparation and reading for those that get through the screening process and are accepted. And then our initial section of the course of Module 1 is a face-to-face delivery, and that is a 3-day blocked element of the course. And we run 3 courses in the country on an annual basis, one in the north, one in the south, and a pro player course. And I'll detail some more on those dates a little bit later on. As I mentioned, the course is far different to our block learning courses in the sense that it's more elongated, more learner-centered, and about the coach and the environment that they're working in. So after Module 1, there's a 10-month program looking to promote learning and behavioural change from Module 1. And that is with some mental support in the field. And what I mean by in the field is in the coach's own club environment or own model environment, whether that be a school or university. And that is the basis of Module 2, where the coach will work one-to-one with a mentor. And that mentor will have some assessment to undertake as well as part of Module 2. And that is really where it's key that the applicant is displaying and proving to their mentor that they are operating at level 3 in order to meet some of the competencies of the course. To do that, the candidate has a portfolio of evidence which they have with them for the duration of the course, and that's to record any formal learning and to record any other learning that they have come into over the duration of the course, whether that be with their mentor or with other coaches. And it's the basis by which they prove a lot of the tasks or evidence, a lot of tasks for us can go into that portfolio of evidence. And that portfolio challenges coaches to go through the plan, do review process to display to us that they can navigate that plan, do review process for a whole season cycle, but also for sessions that come out of that as well. And there is some e-learning, some off the course e-learning that's currently applied. So the coaches all have to undertake a Coach Clean course, and applicants all need to undertake Head Case, which is an online learning course as well, before they're accepted on. And then beyond Module 2, there's a final Module 3, which is back at Twickenham normally, where the coaches come back to work with a small group and another tutor, and allocate some tasks to deliver on Module 3. This slide here really details some information from the course descriptor, which can be found online, a link that I'll give you in a moment. As a level 3 coach, you would need to demonstrate that you are executing and displaying some of these traits. Some of them you may need to display to us before acceptance as part of screening, or in fact on Module 1, 2, or 3. And this is why it's really important that the applicant is a head coach of a program that lends itself naturally to helping them display some of those competencies. So obviously they need to analyse participants' current and potential performance needs, and the profiling, the player profiling, and team profiling is a big part of that, and we'll talk about that more later. It's crucial that they have to be able to articulate to us that the difference between their coaching and their playing philosophies, and how maybe that impacts on their game plan and the way they ask their team to play, and the way they coach their sides and how they coach their sides. And they need to be able to plan a coaching program according to agreed goals set by them, their staff, but also with some player input as well based on the profiling task. And obviously we need to ensure they're managing a safe and effective environment. They need to display a range of coaching styles and interventions to meet the needs of their players within the environment they work in, and that's why it's really important the environment lends itself to those assessments. And as I mentioned previously, anything below under 16 really wouldn't lend itself to things like player profiling and game planning and performance analysis and some of the things that we ask the coaches to undertake as part of that course. And if the environment in which the players are operating is more performance orientated, so i.e. it's not if it's a social environment, it's going to be very difficult and for the coach to use such an environment to display some of these things. So the players need to have a performance inclination and a want and a need to progress and become a better group and a better player individually. And obviously we need to see the coach manage those processes around them. We need to have confidence that the coach has good knowledge of techniques and technical components and can articulate that and can potentially display that through their coaching practice. And also that their players understand those things as well. So it's quite common that when the mentor comes in on module 2, they will have some interaction with the players and assistant coaches by way of interview to ascertain whether they understand the coach's philosophies, the coach's practice, the coach's sessions, and the coach's game plans and so on. So we need to sort of sense check that and ensure that information is being delivered in a way that's understandable. And this is the key bit, really. The head coach needs to have an understanding of the units and subunits. So if they've just got a backs or a forward specialism, that's going to really hamper a coach on this award. They need to have an overarching understanding of each of the subunits in the game and how to coach those and what to coach around those areas as well, and also why. And the crucial part of all of that is they must demonstrate the understanding of the principles of attack and defence, which are fundamentally built around the principles of play. And again, they need to be able to articulate that to us and display that to us as well as part of the assessment process. Just going to move on now to have a look at the application process for those people that are interested in finding out more about or being accepted onto, I should say, the course. The link I've given you there will give you all the information that I'm now talking you through, as well as some more information about what's required for level 3 applications in terms of the information we need from you. As I've mentioned a couple of times already, that the applicant has to be a head coach of a team or a program with competitive match opportunities at an appropriate level. As I said, which really is fundamental to the coach being able to display some of those competencies. The closing date for any applications is Friday the 18th of March. That's hard and fast. There's no flexibility on that. If applications come in after that, they won't be screened or considered for the course that's in that summer. Equally so, if partially completed applications come in, they will be rejected as well. The applications have to come in full, and I'll detail more about that later on. We have an uploader, which is now fully operational, which the coaches need to upload some footage of them coaching for us to see as part of that application, and I'll talk more about that later on too. And any applicants that are not successful with application, they will be informed by the 28th of April and given feedback as to why that is, and assistance on how to apply in the future, if they so wish to do so. And obviously, if they are successful, they'll then be required to complete their application in full by booking themselves on via our online booking system, and obviously paying for the first module of the course. And again, I'll give some more details about costs later on. Also worth mentioning at the moment, the coaching environment that the coaches are operating in, we've mentioned several times now, it has to be a regular environment which they head, which has regular competition. So, for instance, if a coach is solely coaching within a DPP or a county programme, those types of models will not be sufficient as the primary coaching vehicle for the award. It may well be that coaches are operating in those environments as well as a primary environment which is applicable, but that's just those coaching environments on their own will not be sufficient to complete the award, and therefore candidates won't be accepted if that's the only environments they're working in. So I've just put up some details of the South course, which runs annually. You can see there that the course is running in Bristol at SGS College, which is previously Filton College, at their Wise campus in Stoke Gifford. The course is aimed at coaches in areas 1, 2 and 3, so the south of the country, and those are the dates there, the 15th, 16th and 17th of July for Module 1, and attendance at all 3 days of Module 1 are compulsory, so you cannot partially attend some of those dates. If you're not available for all those dates, you would have to defer your application, or potentially you could look at the dates of the North course, which I'll show you in a moment, but similarly, you would have to attend all 3 days of that course. You couldn't straddle the 2 courses. And you can see there the information on costs at the bottom there. And you can also see that Module 2 takes place from September through March in the field and in the coach's environment with a mentor. And then the final module will happen around May and June time, and that's to be confirmed a little bit later on. I've just put up now the equivalent North dates for the north of the country, or the North course, I should say, which is being held up in Leeds. You can see that the dates are different, so they're on the 1st, the 2nd and 3rd of July. But everything else other than that remains the same as the slide just shown in terms of timeframes and costs. And as I mentioned before, if you're successfully taken on to the level 3 program, in theory you can choose whether you want to go to the North or the South course, but you can't straddle the 2, so you couldn't attend day 1 of the North course and then head off to the South to do day 2 of that course. That wouldn't be permitted. Just going to now look at some of the submission requirements for application. I'm going to go through step by step the things that are asked for on the link that I've already provided online. So firstly, you need a fully completed application form. And on that application form, you need to detail for us your coaching environment that you are planning to be assessed in. And we will then in turn ascertain whether we feel that's the appropriate environment to perform and undertake the assessments. But that form needs to be fully completed. So if that's partially completed, the whole application will not be accepted, as is the case with the rest of the sections of the application. We need written confirmation. This is very important, from your club or your school or your university or your college that you're head of rugby on or at, and confirming that you are the program leader and the head coach within that 15-a-side model. And your application won't be accepted without that supporting reference or document, and those documents are followed up by the screening team to ensure that that is the case. We also need evidence of attendance at 3 or more of the advanced CPD series, which I've already mentioned. There are 5 of that series, which are made up from the ones listed here. But we need at least 2 of those attendances to come from planning and periodization, player profiling, and game planning, because fundamentally those 3 modules have heavy weighting on the level 3 course, and then a further 1 from either goal setting or performance analysis. If applicants have covered planning and periodization, player profiling, and game planning, those will suffice as the 3 prerequisites they need. It goes without saying that those candidates that have attended more than the basic requirement of 3, so those that attended the whole series will have a stronger application, and we would like the application to evidence to us how they're applying some of that learning as well. Just going to pop up a link now which details some of the courses that are running in the area 1, so the Southwest Corridor I mentioned before. Some of these are underway already. You can see that I'm delivering 1 block of the courses in Gloucester, but we have a series of advanced courses running in Exeter, a series in Gloucester, and a series in Bath. There are equivalent courses running in other CBs and other areas of the country as well, which you can find by looking on our booking system, which I'll show you later. And you can see that the courses are programmed and planned in an order, so they naturally follow the sequence of goal setting, planning and periodization, player profiling, game planning, and performance analysis. So for instance, without having gone through the goal setting CPD, it will become quite difficult to go really in depth in the planning and periodization of a season. Without having done player profiling, it becomes very difficult to apply some of the principles of game planning and so on. So it does really help the applicant if they have attended the series in its entirety, although, as I mentioned before, 3 is the minimum we need for prerequisite. We also need there to be a completed player profiling task. There is a template provided online at the link that I've already given, so the advice is to read that template in depth, understand the task that's being asked of you, and obviously then execute that task and submit. The player profiling concept is something that comes up throughout the level 3 qualification. So you're asked to profile 4 positions as part of application, 2 forwards and 2 backs. Those positions change every year. We have had in the past experienced applicants submitting their colleagues or their friends' applications from the year before, which obviously sticks out like a sore thumb, having screened those applications and also having changed the positions that we're asking people to profile each year. And so that changes every year. And then obviously based on the quality of that profiling task, we then ask the successful applicants to continue that profiling task for their whole team on module 1. And on module 2, we need to see that live and happening, and making sure that that's not just a paper exercise, it's a true exercise that's happening with their players and the development of their players in the field. We also need evidence that you've completed the Headcase online concussion education course. Again, there's a link at the online link that I've given you for that. It will take about an hour of your time to complete the course. It's a great learning program and a really important learning program for those that are in charge of programs. So hence why we ask the level 3 coaches to undertake that. We also ask anyone doing our award courses, our other award courses, to do this as prerequisite as well. After the module, there'll be a short test which you'll need to undertake. You can use the resources to help you answer some of those questions, and at the end you'll be able to print a certificate to prove your completion. But probably the most important bit is at the very end of the module, there's an information box that comes up. We ask you to enter your details into that box. If you successfully complete that as requested, your RFU record will be updated and confirm that you have completed and undertaken that online module. So again, like the advanced CPD series, that needs to be on your record as having done that before you applied. And finally, we need to see a full coaching CV, and that's a great opportunity for you to display to us and articulate to us how you have been applying some of your previous learning, albeit from level 2 or from other coaching courses, and those advanced CPDs as well in your coaching environments and those environments that you have worked in. We only want to know about your coaching. We don't need to know about your education necessarily, or your employment statuses if it's not rugby related or coaching related. And we certainly don't need personal information on your fitness levels or 1 rep max or anything like that as if you were a player. It is a coaching CV we're looking for, and we are looking for you to articulate to us on that CV the different levels of the game that you have operated in as a coach. And we mentioned previously that the level 3 coach needs to have breadth in terms of rugby coaching experience, and also we need you to display to us that you are coaching as the head coach in the environment that you are suggesting that we will assess you in, and that's really important as well. And you highlight which environment that is. And then lastly, we ask you to submit a video to us by way of an example of some of your coaching. There's an uploader on englandrugby.com, which you can find details of at the link I've already given you. We'll talk a little bit more now about the video and the content of that video. So if you go online to the link I've given you, you'll see this topic, if you like, or this task that is set. So we ask that you submit a 15 to 20-minute clip showing you coaching, go forward and support, which are 2 of the principles of play, from phase play. So in other words, from open play, not from set piece. And we'd like that to be displayed in an adaptive game. So using an adaptive game and something that is inventive and intuitive and is yours, rather than something that is not. And we need to see you employing a game area to identify the issues in player understanding and potentially skill refinement as well. And we also need to see you coaching in a breakout area or a technical area where you'll help coaches find solutions to some of those technical issues that they may be encountering in that game scenario. So really, we're looking for you to deploy or employ a whole delivery where we can see you coaching in a game and coaching in a skill breakout area. But we need to see that fluidly being done and not as 2 separate sessions, if you like. We don't mind if some of the video clips are edited to keep them down to 20 minutes, so that's fine, and phased in and phased out to help with the viewing of that. But it's really, really important. I can't emphasize this enough, that if the video that is submitted is not of a high enough quality in terms of what we can see and what we can hear, then we're not going to be able to use it as an assessment tool of your part of your application. So the quality of the footage is really, really important. So how you get that filmed and who you get that filmed by will obviously have a great impact on whether you can be clear with your objectives of the session. And also the audio as well. It's advisable you use some form of microphone, especially if it's being videoed outside in the wind. And also you need to consider floodlights and what effect that will have on the visual side of things. But upon watching the video, we will need to have a clear view of what you're delivering and how you're delivering it in both the game and the skill breakout area. And we'll need to be able to hear your coaching interventions and some of your coaching delivery as well. So that's really quite important. We need to get an idea of your preferred delivery style through that, and we need to make sure that those practices you're using are innovative and they're not level 2 practices, that they're innovative and they display level 3 traits, and that they address the things that you're wanting to address by way of your introduction and your summary. And we need to see some problem solving being encouraged during the session from the coach to the players, so allowing the players to find their solutions in that game area. And obviously we need some confidence that there's some coaching interventions going on around both the technical and the tactical side of the game, so the how and the what, but also we need to understand that there's an understanding of the why as well by both the coach and the player within that footage. So quite an important part of evidence, and we'll need some time dedicated to it, and may even need more than one filming to get to how you want it to look and to feel, if we imagining that we're the end viewer, if you like, of that product. And then just coming towards the end now, so the advanced series I mentioned earlier on, you would go to rfu.com with the link that's on this sheet here, on this slide here, shall I say, and you can search for the CPD that you were looking to do by way of prerequisite. You can search by postcode, and the postcode will refine the search for you and use that as the epicenter. You need to select coach as the course type and then search for the CPD you're looking for. And you'll also notice you can search between date ranges as well. Just re-emphasize there that on the right hand side of the slide, there are the 5 CPDs in the order they are naturally programmed in. The 3 in the middle being the ones that are of greatest focus. You must have done 2 of those 3 that have stars by them as part of that prerequisite, and you must have attended 3 in total as a minimum as well. And it's quite important to us on the subject of the advanced series that you're displaying to us that you've had a chance to apply some of the learning from this as well. So the time that you take the course or the courses, and also the proof of the application in your coaching CV is quite important here too. And just to wrap things up, there's some contact details here for technical queries. So myself, I'm in charge of the areas 1, 2, and 3, and the course that runs in the south. Philip Kearns is responsible for the north course, and I can see there's a typo on that slide as well on the area. So he covers areas 4, 5, and 6, but he manages the north course. And Nick Scott manages the pro players course. And any technical queries can go to him. Just make sure, or just be clear, that the pro players course is only accessible to professional players. It's the same course, but we only allow that access to professional players within that course. All community coaches must access to the south or the north course. And then similarly, the applications needs to specifically go to the contacts at the bottom. So Lisa Sketchley deals with applications from the south course. Adele Steer deals with applications from the north course. There's a slight typo there as well. And Lindsay Piper deals with the applications for the pro course. Thank you very much for watching the webinar. Hopefully it's been of use, and hopefully it will help you in constructing an application for level 3 if that's what you wish to do.